Well, Dave, we're over here at the Jägermeister workbench, and hummingbirds off the deep end certainly is going to incorporate tunas.
Talk about tunas.
Tell me what you know.
Usually, when I'm targeting tunas, I'm trying to catch them for bait, or I'm looking for them because I know that there might be a blue marlin around those tuna fish. So that's usually what I'm doing. And I tell you what, we got a lot of tuna fishes around Florida. We got the blackfin tuna, which is very prevalent in the Keys and up the little bit of the eastern coast. We have the yellowfin tuna, which is really good fishing off the east coast of Florida out to about 65, 70 miles. And then we have a lot of yellowfin tuna in the Gulf of Mexico, some big bluefin tunas in the Gulf of Mexico sometimes. Summertime and even into October, you can come across a great big bluefin tuna, 800-900 pound fish.
Wow.
Most of the time, if you hook any tuna over 100 pounds and you're not prepared to catch that fish in deep water, you're going to lose it or be in for a long back-breaking
So how are we
thing.
going to catch them when we find them?
Well, you know, tuna, unlike a lot of fish, are very size specific about what they want to eat. You know, if you come up and you see a big bunch of tunas on the surface just going crazy, they're not up there just frolicking.
Right.
They're up there eating something.
Right.
And if you can't see what they're eating, then odds are you're going to have to use something really small to get a bite out of them, especially if they've been pounded. I'm glad you picked that up because that is kind of like a secret weapon. That little king right there.
King?
That's what I call it anyway. All it is a rubber skirt with a little
put a little
lead in it and a double strength 4 or 5/0 hook. If you're pulling a big island lure of some sort with a ballyhoo on it, your regular stuff, and you're going through a bunch of tuna and you can't get a bite, and you put them back further and you can't get a bite, and you go down in your leader size and you can't get a bite, it's time to get smaller with your stuff. The smaller it is, the better your chance you're going to get a bite out of them. And that little thing right there is a crusher. Little spoons. This is a bait. This is one of our bait fishing get-ups right here. It's a single spoon, a little crocodile spoon.
Right.
It's got a single hook in it instead of a treble hook because if I catch a bait, I don't want it to be really wounded.
Right.
A single hook is a lot less traumatic for them than a treble hook.
Right.
And this is a double
So you
rig.
can pull one long and one short.
Yep, and you just pull
Got
those
it.
things, and that's a great thing for us to catch baits. We got a lot of skipjacks here too, which are a smaller tuna, but a lot of guys don't like to eat them for some reason. They're really good to eat. Most of the tuna that you eat in a can comes from a skipjack.
Now, a lot of guys will leave Florida and they'll run across. So
Right.
what do they're targeting obviously yellowfins, but
Right.
what do we have something here we want to throw for yellowfins? What the heck is this?
This is if you're in some of the places like Louisiana or over here off the east coast of Florida and you pull up onto a big bunch of tunas feeding in a school, you can throw big poppers at them on a nice spinning reel. Obviously, you're going to need something with a lot of drag that can hold a lot of drag. That's a torque, and that's a pin torque. So you're going to need a really heavy spinning reel that can take a lot, and something that'll make a lot of noise on the surface. And that's why they have these big poppers. This is a Halco. Williamson makes them as well.
And what about this big lure?
Well, these are for trolling. If you're trolling around, you'll get a lot of bites on some of these trolling lures. And what you do is you'll troll and troll and troll until you start getting bites on these things. You might even catch a few. The bad thing about trolling plugs with tuna fishes, you get a lot of bites. A lot of times they get off, especially if you don't use a single hook. A lot of times I'll take these swimming plugs and I'll take these treble hooks off and I'll put a single hook on them, a bigger single hook on a swivel. That way the tuna can't use the swimming bait as a ledge.
What's the speed should you be trolling, Dave, for the blackfins? How fast?
Well, for blackfins, you don't want to be going that fast. I'd say you could do 4 to 6 knots and still be fine. And then, even with little stuff.
And then
even
what about
with teeny tiny
yellowfins?
little stuff. Sometimes you have to go fast, just fast enough to stay in front of them. You're very seldom are going to find, in Florida anyway, are going to find tuna where they're stationary.
Okay.
Our tuna are moving usually.
Yeah.
So you want to be in front of them. So you're just going to troll your stuff fast enough to stay in front of them.
All right.
And if you can stay in front of them, you're not going to spook them and make them go down. That's what you don't want to do. You don't want to drive through them. You want to stay out in front of them.